So our first order of business is to discuss the priorities for the upcoming year. And Jeff, I know when we last left it off, we had the priorities for all the other subcommittees, and then for the communications, we just said promote communication across all of the above. But I was wondering if you had specific thoughts on this front that we could perhaps go talk about.
Yeah, so I think definitely the MSBA project is going to
Yep.
require a lot of attention. And in the other subcommittee meetings tonight, Greg and I talked about how we're ready to push send on some pretty big pieces that were required. They're due on September 9th. So tomorrow we're going to send them in. We're right on time.
Good.
The next part is around the facilities plan, and we're right at the point of delivering on that too. That could put us about 6 months ahead of schedule.
Okay.
And so at that point, I think we need to really start thinking about our communications for MSBA because, I would say they're about to make a decision about our building committee. That's been submitted.
Yeah.
They're going to be taking a look at all these pieces that we've submitted, reports we've submitted, and we're going to have to start publishing out some information about that to educate the community. So I think the timing is pretty good. One of the other agenda items kind of ties into that. You'll see number 5, Thought Exchange.
Yeah.
Thought Exchange is a company that helps you decide where you're vulnerable for something like a school building project. Like where does the community fall on certain issues? And how could you be preventative in letting those issues build momentum and interrupt your project. So it's about trying to be on the front end of communication rather than on the back end. And that would be a cost to our district, to employ an agency like that. But from what I could see, I've talked with them a little bit, it would be so preventative in derailing our project or causing some of the controversy that can come up. Like with any of the changes that have occurred in the past couple of years, incidental controversy tends to stir things up, and it isn't always very productive.
Right.
And so this would be a way of us interrupting some of that and really smoothing out the communication in some ways.
And I looked at them briefly, and do they accomplish that through surveying the community? Right.
Yeah.
It looked like they had special programs specifically tailored to school systems.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not specific to school building projects, although that's one of the things that they could help us with. And I talked with them, and they said, now is the time to get that ready before you get too much further down the road, because in the spring you're going to want to use the information that you gather.
Right.
Right,
and we should know, that would help us prioritize what we put out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't talked money with them. I don't know how much that sort of a benefit would cost, but with your approval, I'd like to at least begin that discussion and maybe even connect them with you, Andy.
Yeah, that'd be good. We should at least explore it.
To explore it.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want to do is continue to have such a hard time with the communications component that, it's just such a laborious task to get everybody to understand and to be on the same page, it seems, at least in the past.
Okay.
So MSBA is one big thing.
Yeah.
I think another, oh yeah.
Would you be okay if we posted sort of the progress on the website with the materials submitted and that kind of thing?
Definitely.
On the Facebook page, yeah.
Yep, and I think there's going to have to be some explanation for the work that we've accomplished so far. So I'll give you an example of what that would mean. In the documents that we're submitting, they've asked us for any indication that they should look more broadly at our system than just the high school. And so Greg and I have both submitted through the evaluation of the flow of our student population and also our curriculum development, that we need to look at what would it look like for the middle school to be more connected to the high school. And some communication is going to have to happen around that so that it's not misinterpreted as me trying to railroad the community into a 7 through 12 school, because that's just not the case.
Right. Okay.
But we, So some communication to talk about how this is an opportunity that may not come to us again in the near future. This took quite a bit of effort to get them to take a look at the high school. And in 20 years, if we don't also look at what it could mean for the middle school in 20 years, what would the middle school look like?
Right.
And would MSBA, would we be a good site for MSBA to come back to again for another building project?
Okay.
So that will take some effort, I think.
In an effort to keep communication open with the town selectmen,
Yeah.
have we set anything up so when we have these, we step forward in these directions, do we send an email off to them or a letter to them to say that this is the next phase or this is what we accomplished at this meeting?
Well, I think that would be part of it. I think that's a really great idea. That would be another part of this whole communications effort. So, like this is my agenda for the year that you see in front of
Right.
you, like this whole page. So anything that like Andy or others could do to help me with the communications part would be a really great benefit.
Yeah, like we could put together an email and each of us hit our own selectman, and say, hey, just an update, here's what's happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would that make sense?
Or,
Do it that way, or we could do it right through the secretary to the school committee. I'd rather see that all three communities are getting the same email.
And the same messaging and the same
message,
everything.
the same
Yeah.
verbiage.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, one email, but, maybe
Yeah.
they want to see it from their local. Or
Yeah, but
we can do
maybe
it either way.
maybe we could attach it in that, though, who the representatives are from the community, so that they can see it's coming from in Groveland, it's coming from Doug, it's coming from Andy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if it's just from the people that are on the
Yeah,
building committee itself. But if we make this is a big deal what we're doing right now. This
Yeah.
is a potential game changer. Get them informed now.
yeah,
And like you said, you're concerned about people perceiving this as the wrong thing to do. When
Yeah.
it just raises the question, should we or shouldn't we even consider this?
that's right.
And I think they need to be brought in at this point and say, this is why we did this and this, so please be informed, we did
Yeah.
this for this reason. And I think that would, that would deflect a lot of negative,
Yeah,
messages.
yeah, I think that would be good.
Would it be worth thinking about, I know we did the legislative breakfast last year, but maybe just a meeting with the selectmen from the three towns this year, another breakfast meeting where you give the update on the project,
All right,
just so they know what's going on?
I think that would be good.
Would that be a decent idea?
Yeah, so,
Do you think we're that far along? I mean,
I think we are, only because the information that's coming out right now, going to MSBA, if people look into that, like somebody could get upset about something and then set off a firestorm that.
And we can't afford it.
Right.
I made the statement to the people of the community. A little negativity like that just takes a life of its own, and unless the selectmen are completely behind this, and everybody in the school committee,
Yep.
and all the, the different facets of the community, it won't happen at all. It's gonna take everybody's pushing forward.
So I think I'm gonna organize that pretty quickly
Okay.
for
That sounds
September.
good, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do another one like in November, at the very beginning of November.
Right.
Because we should have some good news then about how we've advanced our timeline,
Okay.
and so that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, those are good ideas. The building committee has not been approved yet by the MSBA, so I can't involve the building committee at this point.
Sure, no, I definitely
Yeah.
understand.
Yep. Let's see. So another big area, Andy, that we could use some help with communications is going to be around our curriculum and, the improvements we're making there. What I said in the last meetings is that I'm feeling like we're a little bit behind the 8 ball here in terms of curriculum and where you should be. The state originally changed from MCAS to PARC, and then they went from PARC to MCAS 2.0, And our materials already at the elementary school were starting to age out. And so I'm thinking that we're going to have to move a little quicker than is usual for us with in terms of particularly some elementary curriculum materials around math and literacy and all that. So now that the state has settled on this MCAS 2.0, we got to figure out what does that mean, where are we compared to where we should be, and how do we move forward. So I think some communications are going to be helpful around that too.
Okay. So what's happening on that front in terms of
Well, we're going to be,
what needs to be communicated?
well, I think we'd have to work on that a little bit more than just
Okay.
deciding it tonight, but in the agenda for teaching and learning, you'd see this whole curriculum cycle the improvement cycle that
Yeah.
we're doing. And I think to let people know that the district is actually taking a pretty active stance on this whole thing. It's not that we're just sitting around. And, I just get a little bit nervous that people don't know what we're doing and then they make judgments about it based upon what they think is happening.
Okay. Would it be useful to get together and do a deep dive on that and
It
maybe
would.
develop some content around that?
It would, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That would be a terrific help. So I think those two are the big things. The community, I have this big HR project that I'm going to do. The community is going to not really even understand or appreciate what happens there. It's kind of in the background.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's such a big deal to inform people about, parents aren't going to care that we have a job description written.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter to their kid or to them. The next agenda item was around communications during the emergencies that we
Yeah.
might have. This is more about, so what did you think of last week's communication? Was it okay? Did you see any holes in it?
I've always felt that it's been completely transparent, and I've used that as an example for my seat on the Whittier committee, that, as we spoke before,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a grocery store and hear about something that's going on at the school. I feel I'm being told about it shortly after you are, or as close as humanly possible. And, even though we don't have the full direction of where it's going or what,
Yep.
this has happened, and I'm started a respond by doing this.
Yep.
And as it unfolds, we get updates. I can't
Yep.
imagine getting any more. We're at a point now, I'm sure we're a burden to you to deal with this as you're handling a situation.
Yeah, it's not a burden. It's intense work, and I feel like this last event that occurred last week really was a good test to see, how do all the systems work? How are we connected together? So, when my cell phone went off at 8 o'clock or thereabouts, and by 9:30 we were pretty much wrapping things up, and I felt like the police were connected to me, you were connected to me, the principals were connected to me.
Right.
So the plan that was in place worked out very well.
So it went off without a hitch.
Did, yeah.
Yep, it went off without a hitch in a lot of ways. And even with the media, the next morning, the chiefs were here at 6:30. We had our plan in place. We met with them all together, the media all together, and they were out of here just after 7 o'clock.
Yeah, so they disrupt the school morning
Yeah.
as much as possible. And,
Yeah.
Kids showed up like a nice day, and
Yep. So I really feel like that was a good test of our system, and so I was happy with it. But if you saw any holes in it, that's what I needed to know about.
No, I didn't see any holes. I question the police practice of putting out press releases to publicize it and really encouraging the media to come. Because at the end of the day, we don't know obviously you need to react to it it's real, but you don't know what's going on and, how much scrutiny you might be putting a kid through that's
Yeah.
may be unwarranted at the end of the day,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but that wasn't that was the cops doing that.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's the cops doing it, it's, you know, the news media, everybody's looking at it, it's this thing right here. As soon as somebody catches wind of it, it's on Facebook,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the kid caught it, it was
Yeah.
on Instagram.
yeah,
You know, and you don't tell me that the news media don't watch these things.
Yeah.
You know, so once it gets out there, somebody's looking for their 10 minutes of fame and,
yeah,
you know, and they all show up.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the police would probably say, look, we put out a press release because there's a lot of misinformation.
That's
out
right,
there."
they're
yeah,
gonna.
they just keep it to the
you know,
facts,
Right.
they really streamline it in a lot of ways. And what you saw too was we even connected together so that I could provide kind of a 30,000 foot view of what happened, and then they get into a little bit more detail because they have the details that I
Yeah.
have.
I think it was good that I liked it because there was no other information. All the information was the same, period.
Yeah.
It was very clean and
Yeah.
it just, everything agreed.
Not what you needed on the first day of school.
No, but the better part of it is, I mean, this was just me seeing them as they come up, because I'm not really involved in the whole thing, but what I was getting out of it as I watched it was, when the parents went to bed that night before the first day of school, they knew it was safe and all taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. That was the message, it was concise.
Yeah.
So people weren't going, oh my God, what's gonna happen tomorrow? They went to bed at a normal time, knowing full well that everything was taken care of
Yeah.
and their children
Yeah.
were gonna be moving right into school, so.
And that was the sentiment I got here from like faculty when I came over to check for the middle school. People were just conducting business as regular, there was no extra excitement or drama.
Right.
No, I think it was good communication throughout. I think the police department had the right to put out a report, because that's what the community wants.
Yeah,
So they're putting the information out, like you said, they could put out more than you can, but they know more.
well, they do, they know more.
But at the same time, I knew I was getting questions in my job from people that know I'm from this community.
Yeah,
And I was able to reassure them that, it's being handled, it's all set. There's
Yeah.
no immediate threat, relax.
yeah, yeah,
I don't always get that in the other school district, and we're working for that. We're
Yeah.
trying to, it's difficult for them to say, okay, when do I break from what I'm doing and convey some information to the school district? Because some of the other committee members don't feel they should need to know that detail.
yeah,
And I disagree with them. I think we need to know that.
Mhm.
Not, and as we say all the time, I don't want to know names. I don't want to know, faces or, just
Yeah.
mechanical part of it.
well, you're the ones who face the public, you
That's
know.
all. No, I don't want,
If you don't know anything, that's gonna put you in a tough spot.
But
right,
even as the parents, you know, it's like I'm seeing it like both sides of it, and there is a difference.
yes, right,
There is a difference. You
Yep.
know, I'm coming to you as a school committee member, but I'm coming to you as a parent,
right.
and there is a difference in how
Right.
things are handled.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, it looked like the system was working quite well, you know.
Yeah, the questions were answered before they asked, almost.
Yeah, the kid did the right thing, the cops did the right thing, the school did the right thing. End of story.
Yeah, yeah,
The discussion at work was, well, how much does it take to get a student or into this kind of situation right now? And the truth of it is not a lot. We don't have the luxury of just thinking, well, maybe they're kidding, or maybe they're just having they think it's funny. You don't have that luxury anymore.
Right.
no.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even an airsoft pistol is a federal offense now.
Yeah.
I just think it's, for the protection of the community and the children, you have to do it.
Yes. Okay, so that was just a little check-in. And MSBA, I think we've covered that pretty much, right?
Yeah.
All right, and thought exchange, I'll connect with them, Andy, they're chomping at the bit to connect with them.
Dollar signs.
Well, I mean, you know how that could be.
Could Mary Ann send a letter to the selectmen just so,
Yeah, and.
I know I keep pursuing that, but I don't want, we have a pretty good working relationship right now, and I'd like to nurture that and keep it open.
And I'll extend an invitation for a date in September for breakfast and November as well.
Okay.
And give them some regular updates. I think that will go a long way.
I think once the building committee's approved, they start meeting,
Yeah,
they're gonna be up to date more anyhow,
Yeah.
and they can all go back to the selectmen.
Well, the selectmen on the committee.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
gonna be in the loop better, but we're still green at this. I just wanna make sure that they feel that
yeah,
they're part of it.
definitely. All right. So anything else, Andy?
No, I think that'll cover it.
So you and I need to get together. at
Yeah, I'll
some
follow up with Mary Ann.
Okay.
Would you guys like to be included in that? We could
During the day, I
all
can't.
meet together?
Yeah,
can't
during the
make it.
day, if, you know, I
Right.
trust what the
Till the
superintendent
end of the month,
and
huh?
Mary Ann yourself
Right
will
straight
come
out.
up with.
Okay. So that'll be good.
Okay,
All right.
cool. I'll
Perfect,
send a
thank
note
you.
to Mary Ann tomorrow.
All right. Generally, we need to go through all the policies that we have, which really isn't a lot, and figure out where do we need to update and where are we okay. So I began to do that this summer, and there are some that go back to like 2007, 2008 for the last update. We need to take a look at those.
So review, I'm just throwing as a question. So we want to review policy that might be outdated with the current times?
Yeah.
Okay.
In particular around discrimination, things
Yeah.
that have come up as updates recently, we've got to go back and check, all the different connections with the different policies.
Yep.
So that's really all I wanted to represent. My thinking is that for every meeting that we have, every subcommittee, I should bring a couple of policies and, try to update
I
it.
took a whack at, I saw you, I did a whack at part of it.
Yep.
Just went through them all. I think I had 27 of them were either basically obsolete, needed to be changed, and I had about 4 or 5 that I think should be added.
Yeah,
New
and I have about
policies.
4 or 5 that should be added too.
So we've all taken a quick dive at it.
So let's say we have 30 different policies we got to take a look at. So over the course of, let's say, I don't know, 6 or 7 months, so if I bring a couple every time.
Sure.
Yeah. Some of them are easy. I mean,
Yeah,
the
they
changes
could-
are easy, but some of them are a little bit more in-depth.
So you
Yeah.
can prioritize.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that, like I said, some of them maybe they're remove them, but to be a complete do-over, I don't think would be the case either. Just to update a few.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them
kind
are updates,
boxes
but I mean,
in.
but some of them have been, that are still there.
Yeah.
Another policy has kind of replaced them, but the policy's still there. These are just deleted.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so just to be
Yeah.
knowledgeable that we're deleting something,
yeah.
I think, yeah.
So basically, you guys go into every single policy listed and seeing.
We're going
It's
to review every
riveting
policy.
reading.
It
And,
sounds very green, because we're gonna save paper.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of policies here.
Yes, there are.
it's not so bad. If you work in a city, a bigger district, I mean, the policy
More.
book is this thick.
We have to have a vote. At any time, we cannot have more than 12 active policies.
Right, you can't keep
You
track.
gotta lose one to get one, so
Exactly.
figure it out.
Exactly. So we'll assemble, a priority list and bring them forward.
Yep.
So that's really the only thing that I wanted to talk through in the policy part for tonight. Anything else, Lisa?
Nope, that's what the policy committee's all about.
Okay,
Short and sweet.
very good.
Like